Hi, I'm Pastor Dave with Declaration Church. And as the weather has been turning colder, and then where I live, warmer, and then colder, and then warmer, and then colder again, I've started to slide into fall mode and started to think about the coming winter. Now, if you know me, you know that I love winter. Snow is one of my favorite types of weather. I love snow. I don't mind the shoveling. In fact, I enjoy it. It's good exercise, I think. You get outside, you're able to breathe well. You're able to be comfortable because you can put on more clothing and bundle up. And that's kind of what I started to think about as I was reading through a certain passage, because I started to think about being clothed. I started to think about being covered. I started to think about just the idea of being caught unclothed, naked, and how embarrassing that is most of the time, and how much we try to avoid that. How our society even has laws against being out in public in a lot of places without proper clothing. How vendors and stores and restaurants will post, certain guidelines for what you need to have on in order to get service inside that establishment. And it's not unusual for us. But as things turn colder, I think we all start to naturally think about bundling up, covering up. Where's the hat? Where's my stocking hat? Where's my, where are my gloves? Where are my boots? Where's my coat? Where are my snow pants for those cold days when I do have to go out and shovel a 3-foot tall snowdrift? We start to think about putting on more clothing and covering up. And then, my mind kind of wandered to that Friends episode where Joey puts on all of Chandler's clothing, and just the idea of all of those kinds of things that just kind of crashed in on my head. All these different thoughts from different experiences and different things I've seen in my life. But I thought about, just being covered up, being clothed, being bundled up, and what that means and how important it is to be properly clothed for every situation that we're in, for every type of weather. And you might be wondering, what in the world did I read that got me thinking about being bundled up? And it comes down to this. It's in Genesis chapter 3, verse 21. And in Genesis chapter 3, verse 21, it says, "And the Lord God made for Adam and for his wife garments of skins and clothed them." He clothed them. God clothed Adam and Eve. Why? Well, here's the situation. They go out. God's given them one directive. He says, you can eat of any tree in the garden except for one. You just can't eat of this one tree. Everything else open to you. That's it. That's the rule. There aren't multiple rules. There aren't all kinds of guidelines and strictly, it must be 16 to be in the pool without a parent. Nope, none of those guidelines. Only don't eat of this one tree. And when they discover, according to some deception from the serpent, that they might gain some knowledge that they haven't had, that maybe God's been holding out on them, when they discover that if they eat of this tree, they're the ones that get to decide what's right and wrong for them. And it's really not necessarily even a product of the fruit. It's that idea that they are no longer going to allow God to decide what is right and wrong in their lives. They're going to choose what is right and wrong in their own lives. They're rebelling against God's guidance and oversight and care. It's in that moment that they recognize, we're naked. We have no clothing. And so they take fig leaves and sew them together and try to clothe themselves. And honestly, we've been doing that for a long time. We've been trying to cover up our mistakes as human beings forever. We've been trying to cover our own nakedness, cover our own shame, cover our own mistakes for a really long time. Whether that's trying to pay for them on our own, we make a mistake and we own it, but then we try to pay it back. We try to make up for it. Whether it's just trying to hide it, shove it under the rug, sweep it under the rug and try and cover it up and shove it in the closet and hide it away so no one can see. We've been trying to cover our own mistakes our own shortcomings for a long time. They were trying to do it here as well. And the truth is, their coverings were insufficient. And it's the same for us today. Anytime that we make a mistake and we try to cover it up or we try to pay it back, we try to pay back our own debt, what we come to realize at some point is that we can never do it. It's so deep a hole, we can't fill it in. It's such a huge debt, we could never pay it back. And everything that's hidden away and shoved in that closet or swept under the rug is eventually going to come out. And it's going to be exposed, and we're going to be naked in front of the whole world. And it becomes a huge issue for us. And so what do? What is our hope? Standing before God with nothing left to cover ourselves, nothing left to cover our mistakes, no way of paying back the debt we have accrued through our lives and rebellion. What do? Well, the good news is God's actually provided a way to get rid of all of it and clothe us with a righteousness that's not even ours, to cover us in a way that we could never cover ourselves, just like he did for Adam and Eve. He takes their fig leaves, they remove those, and he provides for them leather clothing of skins, animal skins. We need to put on the new self. We need to come to Jesus and lay down all of our old coverings, admit that they're insufficient, admit that we can never cover our own mistakes, our own rebellion, our own sin on our own. And we need to lay that down, and we need to take that off, take off our old self, put away all the things that aren't right, that aren't good, all our rebellion, all our mistakes. We need to put those away, and we need to put on Christ. In Colossians chapter 3, that's actually really what it says. And it's not just in Colossians, it's actually in Ephesians chapter 4 as well. But Colossians chapter 3, Paul writes and he says, but now you must put them all away. All what? Anger, wrath, malice, slander, obscene talk from your mouth. Put away all those things that are part of your old life before you met Jesus. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self. You took off all the old coverings, all the masks, all the pretense, all the things you've tried to hide and cover up. Take off all those coverings, expose all that, take it off with its practices. Verse 10, and have put on the new self. Put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator. You see, the new self looks like Jesus. The new self looks like Jesus. It looks like God. It looks like, honestly, who we were intended to be from the very moment we were created. Even before, honestly, before we were created, what God always intended for us. Skipping a verse to verse 12 in that same passage, it says, put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another. And if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And above all these things, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. You see, the new self is what brings about what I think all of us really long for. It's kindness, humility, love, unity. True, intimate, authentic relationship with other people exposed for who we really are. No more pretense, no more masks. And it's available to us when we put on the new self that's available to us in Jesus. Only God can provide that for us. We can't make it ourselves. It's all about what he has done for us. And all we have to do is receive it. Just like in the garden, all they had to do was receive those new clothes. And now you and I just have to receive the gift of the new self from Jesus. Hopefully this is encouraging to you and challenging maybe that you'll never measure up on your own. But if you come to Christ, all the mistakes, all of that gets wiped away, and you get to start over with a brand new self. And hopefully that's encouraging to you, and you will look into that. You'll explore that if you've never done it before. And if you have, walk in the new self. Put it on and walk in that. Be you, the authentic you that God created through the new self, with kindness and humility and love. I hope that this has encouraged you and challenged you and brought you to a place where you're ready to go out and live the new life that Jesus intended for you, the abundant life that Jesus wants you to have. And if it has, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel so that every time we post new content, you're notified, and you and I can continue to walk together as disciples of Jesus. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of that journey today. As always, I'm Pastor David, and I'm out.